It would be strict if they were just like, all right, guys, February, Codex Night Lords.
A few moments later.
Did we get Night Lords after all? We did get Night Lords.
What?
Oh,
Wait, what?
man, dude. Let's go. What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and we just got a whole ton of new announcements for upcoming releases for Warhammer and its associated games at the World Championships of Warhammer that is currently being held over the course of this week. We saw in this release a ton of new releases for Warhammer 40,000 in specific, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, so let's dive right into it. First up, and most excitingly, we have a Codex roadmap for the upcoming couple of months, all the way from winter 2023 through summer 2024. Now, the first couple of codexes on this list we already know about and have seen some previews from past reveals, including Codex Adeptus Mechanicus and Codex Necrons, which are the next pair of codexes to be released. We saw some new releases for these two codexes, including a resculpted Imhotep the Stormlord and the new Skitarii Skatros. On top of that, we also see that Codex Dark Angels and Orcs are going to be the next two armies to release, as well as some new releases for spring 2024, including Adeptus Custodes, Tau, and Chaos Space Marines. That is going to be a spicy metagame. When those factions release, they have a tendency to splash things up as soon as they come out. And moving on into the future, Codex Genestealer Cults and Adeptus Sororitas, as well as a redacted codex that has not yet been released for summer 2024. Now, moving on from that, we also saw some new releases for that Necron Codex, including a resculpted Orokin the Diviner. This is the crypt deck that can join your Necron Warrior units to give them a 4+ invulnerable save, and once per game, divine the stars to become super powerful and strong in melee. This new updated Orokin the Diviner looks much larger and more imposing, goes with a very cool snake or viper theme, and has a lot of really interesting details that I absolutely love, including the fact that his cape is articulated. It looks like it's moving along with his tail, and that's super sick. On top of that, we also see a lot of releases for the new Dark Angels Codex. This includes new Deathwing Knights, which is a wholesale resculpt from the existing Deathwing Knights. The current Deathwing Knights are equipped with a mace and a flail of absolution on their unit champion, but it looks like this Deathwing Knight resculpt, which they are releasing to bring the unit into the new upscaled Terminators that released in the Leviathan set, have a different weapon loadout. You are able to bring them with their classic maces of absolution, and they have a new Power Maul mace style, or you can equip the unit with Calibanite swords. These are super sick looking and definitely follow the Dark Angels aesthetic. They also come with new helmeted or unhelmeted versions. Very much in favor of these new helmeted versions. They look super cool. Kind of a happy medium between the 30k Dark Angels that we've been seeing in sculpts for that game and Grey Knights that have a very kind of knightly aesthetic on their Terminator armor. These guys fit right nicely into that and look super sweet. Now, the one thing that we don't see in this kit is that Flail of the Unforgiving that the unit champion has. It sounds like he is no longer going to have a separate weapon, and what we don't know quite yet is whether or not these weapon profiles will be different. The communication is definitely that you can equip the unit with one or the other. They come with enough parts to do one weapon or another weapon on the entire unit, so it sounds like it will be a unit-wide weapon option, but whether they have different stats or whether they're just a generic power weapon profile that has the same stat line, we don't quite know. Now, according to the article on Warhammer Community, these guys also come with a teleport homer, which is new for the Deathwing Knights. They still retain their Watcher in the Dark, and they have a new Watcher in the Dark model, but it sounds like they may get the opportunity to rapid ingress for free like the existing shooting Terminators do, which is super sweet. And given the fact that these guys oftentimes are rapid ingressing onto the table in order to get good charges on the subsequent turn, means that they're likely to be very powerful. Whether they keep their other abilities, we won't know, but it's looking good for the Deathwing Knights. Things are all coming up Dark Angels as well, because we do see a resculpted Asmodai. This guy's getting a new upscaled version to fall in line with the other upscaled models in the Space Marine range. It doesn't sound like he's getting a Primaris body, at least the article doesn't talk about it, but it does look like he is much bigger and on a larger base. He also has this cool particle effect on the smoke coming from his backpack, and the article on Warhammer Community does specify that he comes with multiple backpack options. So even if you don't want to use that, you can save it for one of your other Dark Angels characters. He also has a couple different head options, including one with his traditional hood raised and one with it lowered, so you can see his bizarre looking skull helmet. This is a huge resculpt. The existing Asmodai model doesn't look that great. It's definitely showing its age, so this new kit looks amazing. Now, speaking of re-sculpted models, we also saw some new releases for Kill Team that can transition over into Warhammer 40k. Kill Team is getting a new Night Night Lords release. This looks to be an upgrade sprue to the existing Chaos Legionnaires kit. A lot of the models in this Night Lords kill team are simply models from the Chaos Legionnaires kit with some additional head swaps, shoulder pad swaps, and maybe additional weapon options. However, there are some models that look like they might be unique to the kill team, but largely it looks like it's going to be an alternate variety of Legionnaire miniatures. Now, the commentators during the live stream did specify that this is a kit that you can use to modify your existing Legionnaires or to use as proxies for Legionnaires. It doesn't sound like, at least for the time being, they're going to be getting their own datasheet for Warhammer 40k, but they do look cool and are a good way to personalize your army, especially if you are a Night Lords fan. However, that doesn't mean that we may not see datasheets for them in the future, and it could be that Chaos Space Marines get a treatment a lot like Astra Militarum, where they start to get different units from different sub-factions within the super faction, where we saw Death Corps of Krieg and Kadashan Jungle Fighters be rolled into individual unit types that had their own internal synergies and characters, and that followed the playstyle of those particular regiments. We could see a similar thing happen with Chaos Space Marines, where we get individual alternative Legionnaire datasheets for things like Night Lords and Word Bearers and Iron Warriors. Now, moving on from that, if you are a fan of casual or Crusade play, we did get an announcement of a new Crusade book. This is the Pariah Nexus Crusade book. It includes 15 missions as well as new lore for the ongoing story of Warhammer 40,000. Last but certainly not least, before we move off of this video, we have some additional releases for the Warhammer game as a whole that can be used in conjunction with Warhammer 40k. The first one is new Assault Marines for the Horus Heresy. These are very cool. I think a lot of people are kind of lukewarm on the jump packs on them. They're a little bit high on the model, create a high center of gravity, and are angled a little bit funny, especially if you're used to the classic 40k style of jump packs. I think they look a little tall and peaky. However, I do like their buckles and how they attach onto the models, and I do like the chunkier scale of the Horus Heresy Marines with these new backpacks attached. These guys could easily fit into Chaos Space Marine armies or Space Marine armies as Assault Jump Pack Intercessors, or as Raptors or Warp Talons or something like that. They even have a new like sort of lightning claw design inside the kit as well, and I think they look absolutely gorgeous. We also have the Tauros Venator, a returning old staple. If you remember the days of the Elysian Drop Troopers line from Forge World, the Tauros Venator now sees new life in Necromunda with their Ash Wastes expansion. This allows for Mad Max style vehicle combat within the Necromunda gameplay, and the Paladite Enforcers now have access to the Tauros Venator in their team. This is another model that could transition easily into Warhammer 40k as proxies for a bunch of different things. I think the one that immediately comes to mind are Achilles Ridge Runners out of Genestealer Cults. It's a very similar vehicle and basically the same size, and I know, speaking personally, back in the day I was considering a Genestealer Cults army and almost bought a bunch of Tauros Venators to use as Achilles Ridge Runners when their stock was low. So I think we definitely could see this vehicle make the transition into Warhammer 40k, at least as a proxy model in the immediate future. And with that, those are all the reveals from the World Championships of Warhammer 2023 preview. Let me know down in the comment section which one is your favorite. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.